Hello there and welcome to this video. So today I'm going to be talking about how to have self-care and practice self-care as a freelancer. So before we jump in, I'm just going to define what freelancing means to me. So for freelancing, I consider this someone who is working on different projects within different organizations, maybe has different pay structures for these projects, but you're not dedicated to just one business opportunity or one client that you're working for. Instead, you're kind of getting different income from different places, doing possibly different jobs, working under different parameters, and you're not a W 2 employee. So, this is someone who pays their own taxes. And all that jazz. So, anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it. And I'm really excited to film this because I definitely needed this when I was starting off freelancing, and it's something that I still have to remind myself of each and every day. So, for me, the way I like to describe freelancing to people who don't do it or even relating to people who are in it is going back and thinking about high school. So for me, during high school, I believe I had like 6 to 7 classes a year. And with each class, you have a different teacher, a different subject. There's different rules about how much tests count for, how much homework counts for. And you're just doing completely different things, but it's all grouped under this one thing called school. And with freelancing, I see it the same way. You have multiple different clients, and it's all grouped under your work and your income. With freelancing, it is really interesting because along with school, you could be doing homework, let's say for one math class for 5 hours, but maybe you didn't get to your English class homework. And when you show up to English class that next day and you didn't do your homework, your English teacher could assume anything, right? It's like, oh, you don't do homework, you're not putting enough time into school, even though you just spent 5 hours last night doing your math homework. And that's kind of what freelancing feels like too, is you kind of have to even it out throughout your clients, make sure that you're hitting deadlines in multiple different areas, and then kind of just make sure it all works together for your financial health, physical health, mental health. And then the other thing I'll say about freelancing is apart from a corporate job, like with a corporate job, you walk in, you clock out. And usually, maybe you didn't get everything you needed done during the day, but you can kind of like check out when you're at home. For the most part, I know that in corporate, like you're still getting text messages maybe in the evenings, maybe you brought something home to work on. But with freelancing, it's all of the time, it feels like. And there's always more you could do, especially if you don't have a limit of how many hours to put in. Or if a project isn't something where it's like here's a start and here's an end. Sometimes projects are more like ongoing, or the work you put into it is what you get out of it. So that's how I like to describe freelancing. It really is there's pros and cons to doing it if you're considering it. I think that the pros outweigh the cons for me personally, because it gives me a lot of flexibility to travel where I want to attend events that are important to me, to have the flexibility in my schedule for any kind of needs that come up, and just the ability to take care of myself and schedule appointments when I want to, or schedule time off when I want to. And that to me makes this whole thing worth it, where some people don't necessarily see the benefit. So, where I'm coming in and the angle that I am really wanting to capture with this video is self care as a freelancer. And in here, I kind of wrote down that I am a people pleaser, or I have been a people pleaser historically. And so sometimes freelancing can be very overwhelming emotionally. So I want to break down for you 5 tips that I think have really helped me in this journey achieve more success. And I'm definitely still a work in progress. So this isn't set in stone, but I just wanted to give you guys this guide. So before we jump into the 5 steps, if you guys want this guide, please let me know. I'm happy to send you over a copy. I just broke down really what I wanted to say in here, but also if you needed a guide to kind of check in with yourself daily, I think this is great. I have been looking over it because there's times that I really struggle with the self-care side of things as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So 1, make finances a priority. So we all got into this because we're trying to make money, right? If we didn't need to make money, we wouldn't need to do this freelancing gig. And for me, sometimes it has been like a competing priority of, again, when I mentioned that historically I've been a people pleaser, when you're working with so many clients, it can feel kind of overwhelming of where to start some days, like where to focus, what to focus on. And obviously, we need to be making money from this. And I don't know why, at some points in the journey, that has felt like so foreign to me of, oh, okay, I need to prioritize the money over the emotions or over the things that interest me. And at this point in my career as freelancing, everything I'm doing is super interesting and I love all the clients I'm working with. So don't get that mixed up with what I'm trying to say here. But at the end of the day, really, we're doing this to support ourselves. And sometimes it's a really good reminder. So, like I said, if you're freelancing, a lot of times different companies have different pay structures, different plans, different deadlines. And so you really can be left in this financial bind if you are putting too much time into the wrong thing. And so I set up this scenario because I think it's really realistic of what you're going to encounter as a freelancer. And it's something that I've had to really break down and think through because I really have struggled financially in the past with freelancing, especially those first couple years. I went from working a corporate job with some pretty stable income to freelancing, where I would have some good income months and then some income months where I was making zero. So, over the last couple years, really focusing on stability has been a main priority for me. And even beyond the stability, the financial stability. So at the end of the day, like I said, you're making money to support yourself because you want to be living comfortably. And if you're living comfortably and not stressed about money, not stressed about like where things that are necessary and things that you want are going to come from, you're going to do a better job for your clients and you're going to like work and you're not going to resent working. So here's the scenario that I came up with. So client A is going to be paying you $1,000 for the month for 20 hours of work. Client B is going to be paying you per deal closed. They're going to pay you $300 per deal closed. And so far, you've closed 2 deals this month with the prospects you've been nurturing for a few weeks. And you have one person who's maybe close to closing. Client C is paying you $50 an hour for you to work on their account. There's no maximum hours and you're not rewarded on a performance basis. So this is pretty typical. These are different scenarios that I have been in. I don't think these are the exact numbers, but they're pretty close. And now you are left with 6 hours in the month and you need to make another $200 to cover, your expenses and your financial goals. So what do? I'm going to give you guys a little bit more context here and break this down. So, client A and B are feeling really stressed. And a lot of times, your clients are feeling stressed when they're continuously messaging you, put a lot of pressure on you, maybe in a meeting saying like they need to hit their financial goals or like you need to get this measurement. Client C is pretty level headed. So you kind of know where that's coming from. And so I'm going to tell you what previous me would have done and what now I would do looking at it objectively and very business minded. So previous me probably would have let client A and B really get to me, like get in my head, feeling those emotions. And again, going back to client A, you're given $1,000 per month on a contract basis for 20 hours of work. Now we're going to assume here that client A doesn't want you to go over the 20 hours. If someone was in the position where they're saying they're really stressed and they have gotten 20 hours or they've bought 20 hours of work from you, essentially, you could always offer them like, hey, I'll do 5 more hours for this rate, and maybe they would accept that. However, in this scenario, we're just going to assume that they only want to pay for the 20 hours of work. Now, previous me, when I was trying to be this people pleaser early on in the business days, and even later on in the business days, sometimes would have been like, okay, I really want to make sure that client A is satisfied. So I'm going to go ahead and put in these, remaining 6 hours to client A, or maybe even more than that. Like maybe I would have canceled other things just to put in more work. But at the end of the day, you're only getting this $1,000 no matter what you do. If you do 20 hours, if you do 40 hours, this client has only approved you to do the 20 hours for the $1,000. Now, we do need to be mindful because if you signed a contract to complete 20 hours and the client has given you everything you need, you do need to complete these 20 hours or give them some sort of credit where you're refunding them for the hours you didn't complete, or if there's some sort of written agreement between you guys for some reason, pushing some of the hours into the next month. And this could be if someone doesn't have as much work to do in that month or whatnot. But for this scenario, they have all the work for you to do. They're only willing to do the 20 hours. So you have to stick to that 20 hours. Even though this person's putting pressure on you, even though emotionally you may feel like you need to prove stuff to them, no, because what happens is if you go over the 20 hours, then they're going to keep expecting you to do that. And you're only getting paid for the 20 hours. You may as well put your time elsewhere where you will be compensated. As much as you like this client, as much as maybe they're going through something, you have to stick to this contract. Okay, client B. Now, maybe this person is putting some pressure on you. And again, previous me would have been like, okay, let me try everything I can to close this one person who's on the fence. Again, you could put 20 hours into closing this one person. And if they don't close, you're not going to get any compensation. And if they do, all you're getting is that $300. So you kind of have to go off of your track record. You really have to evaluate, where do I put my time? Now, client C is paying you $50 per hour to work on your account. They said no maximum hours. You could go at your own pace, but there's no performance basis. So you're not going to get any more than $50 for that hour. So here's what I would do if I had 6 hours left. So first of all, I would finish the work with client A. So what I wrote here is you've done 19 hours for client A. So I'd absolutely go back and finish that 1 hour to honor this contract. Again, you're contracted, you are required to do those 20 hours unless there's other stipulations made. But like I said, I wouldn't go beyond this because you'd have to adjust their plan in order to be compensated fairly. All right, then I'd actually use 4 hours on client C because that would guarantee me the extra $200. So 200 divided by 50 is 4. So that's 5 hours right there. And then after that, maybe spend an hour trying to chat with the leftover prospect from client B. So that is kind of how I'd organize it now. Again, I didn't always think about this that way because in corporate, you're paid the same no matter what you're doing, or maybe you are getting some sort of a commission. But if you were to work on different projects based on what your boss is telling you, you're trying to please that one person versus this. You have multiple people to consider, you have multiple payment structures, multiple contracts. And so you really have to think of it strategically. And also, I would say what's really helped me is having very clear financial goals each month. And so I know exactly what I need to do in order to hit them. And I can kind of project, okay, if I get $1,000 from client A, I know that's guaranteed as long as I do these 20 hours of work. Okay, client C, how much do I need to make above that $1,000? And maybe that's another $1,000. So I'd do 1,000 divided by 50, work that many hours. I would see how many deals I typically close here, and just really have a game plan going into the month so that you're comfortable financially. And at the end of the month, it's not like I don't have enough money to pay my bills, because that's super stressful as a freelancer because you're not being paid the same amount each month. But the more you can make it predictable, the better things are and the more you'll like freelancing. Okay, let's go ahead and go into prioritizing mental health. Again, this is so important as well, and something I did not realize at first. So when you're freelancing, you're dealing with different personalities, different goals, different deadlines, different shifts that you're working. And it's a rare day where you're not getting maybe emails from the clients, Slack messages, WhatsApp messages, text messages, which text messages I would not give out your phone number if at all possible. Even WhatsApp, I feel like, is kind of borderline, but where sometimes I work with clients internationally, unless they have Slack or email set up, WhatsApp sometimes is the most convenient. But typically, I try and keep communication to Slack or email as much as possible. So, this sometimes would freak me out because all these notifications are popping up, all these maybe emails I'm getting, and you can't control it. Like one day there may be nothing from anybody, but some days, say you have 5 clients, all 5 of them like urgently need something, all 5 of them are in crisis somehow. And that can be a lot to take on emotionally, especially if you're looking at your phone first thing in the morning. You already don't have a basis to the day, and then bam, you're thrown into like all this fire and chaos instead of then following the schedule you made for yourself, you're just putting out fires all day. And it's super overwhelming, or at least it has felt like that sometimes for me. So making sure you prioritize your mental health really gets you in this place where you go into the day with a plan, and you can handle these big emotions that your clients may be having, or your clients, how do I say this? Like, for me, what I do a lot is like appointment setting, lead generation, sales. And so it might not be your client who's going through something, it might be their prospect, and you're dealing with their emotions and having to handle that. So if you come into the day calm, focused, centered, grounded, it's only going to benefit how your workday goes. It's going to benefit your clients. It's going to benefit whoever you may be engaging with for your clients, and really allows you to like hold space for all these people because you've filled up your cup already. And so mental health could kind of come at the beginning of the day, end of the day, during breaks during the day, if you just need a moment. But I found that meditation, obviously, on my channel, I talk about a lot. Again, just taking breaks. Also, like listening to very positive things, doing some trainings that are encouraging and positive. So, that is another thing that I would recommend here. Okay, 3, having something to look forward to after work. And this could be before work, maybe midday, depending on your work schedule. But sometimes it's hard for me to shut off when freelancing. So it could be like I wake up at 6, say, and then I work until I go to bed at 9 p.m. But sometimes this isn't super necessary. So when I started documenting my hours, I found that, okay, some days it may feel like I'm working 10 hours and some days I do, but sometimes it's like I'm at the computer for 10 hours, but maybe I got 6 hours of work done. But if there was something kind of blocking that in my day, it's very different. So say I had somewhere to go at 6 p.m. I'll know that I won't be getting back to work. So whatever I finish by 6 is what I finish. So sometimes just having that thing that you're like, okay, I need everything done by this point in the day so that I'm able to go do something that I like, actually makes you more productive because you're not sitting there spinning your wheels, over analyzing, over evaluating, working on the wrong things. You're working on the essentials, you're working on what you need to get done, and you're able to then go enjoy yourself. And so trying to put something in there is really beneficial, whether that is just like, I'll get to read this book, watch this show, spend time with these people. It can be super beneficial just to increase productivity and lessen time spent just sitting at your computer unproductive. Oliver. Okay, point number 4, work on building something for yourself. So freelancing is really great to where you can gain access to funds and get money by working online potentially for different clients. But at some point, you're probably going to want something of your own that you're building. So for me right now, I've kind of gotten to the point where it's like I'm so happy with what I'm doing freelance wise, and it's not something that I plan on leaving anytime soon. However, I do want to build a personal brand because I never know where things are going to take me. And honestly, I don't really have any sort of plan of, oh, hey, I want to do this or I want to do that. But I just know that having something, one, to fall back on, and two, that, I could potentially utilize in the future is going to be really great. So I spend time making these YouTube videos, and they're for free and they're for everybody. But maybe someday I'd want to teach something about what I'm talking about in these YouTube videos, or cultivate some sort of community, or even get paid passively by YouTube. So I don't know where this is going to take me, but it can feel really good having something of your own versus being in all of these businesses. And then at the end of the day, if the businesses let you go or you decide to part ways with them or it's no longer a fit, not having anything of your own. So I think this is really important too. It is a priority for me just because I'm thinking long term here. I'm thinking 10 years into the future, 20 years into the future. Like, what do I want to be known for? What do I want to potentially teach? What pool of people would I even have to pitch something to or have clients from? And so I think this is important. No matter what you're doing, I think building a personal brand is always going to benefit you. Building community is always going to benefit you. And having multiple sources of income is always going to benefit you. Okay, and last point, number 5, taking care of your health. So, freelancing is actually more demanding than I think most people give credit towards. So, you're working long hours, you're working for people in different time zones, potentially you're in different time zones yourself, and you just need to make sure that you still have the basics as if you're in an office. So, for so long, I didn't think taking breaks was necessary, but in California, at least where I'm from and where I've worked, uh, you have to have a break after a certain number of hours. Like, you have to take a lunch break or you're paid overtime. And you also are entitled to, 15 or 10-minute breaks throughout the day. And these are something that you actually have to offer your employees by law, because that's just how labor laws work in California. And yet, when you're freelancing, these same laws don't actually apply to you. You can work continuously, you cannot take a lunch. And I thought by doing this, I would be more productive, but actually, it completely ruins your day. If you're just plugged into work all day long, never taking breaks for yourself, you're going to get super overwhelmed. Your health is really going to suffer for it. Your blood sugar is not going to be consistent, and you're not going to be doing the best job for your clients, and you're not going to feel the best yourself. So please don't neglect yourself. Doing these things make a big difference, just even taking a 10-minute walk in the middle of the day. And that way you could just show up as your best self for you, for your clients, for the longevity of being able to freelance and making more income. So just to kind of end this out, there are days that are going to feel super imbalanced, and that's okay too. You don't get it right every single day, but as long as you're making an effort to do the best for yourself, do the best for your clients, make sure that your financial needs are taken care of, your mental health is as strong as it can be, your physical health is doing as well as it can, and you're prioritizing yourself and where you want to go in the future with all of this, I think that that's a winning formula. And this is something that I, again, am actively working on each one of these areas, actively trying to transform how freelancing has been. But since I started in 2021, things have changed dramatically for me. And I feel so much more confident in the schedules and habits that I'm creating now in 2024 than I did 3 years ago. So please let me know in the comments what things have helped you as a freelancer. Also, let me know if you want this guide that I've written out, and let me know, if freelancing sounds like something fun to you, what you guys are doing or what you're struggling with, because I'd love to make more videos on that. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.